Trying to keep up with industry producers like Rio Leva and Nick Mira is damn near impossible at the rate that they're making loops. So if there's any plugin or technique I can use to improve my workflow, I'm all ears. But luckily, Mixed & Key sent over a copy of their new plugin bundle called Pilot. It consists of 3 different plugins: Pilot Bass, Melody, and Arpeggiator. The plugins are meant to be used together, but I've actually found more fun in using them separately and kind of use them as a tool for other plugins. And before we get into it, I just want to give a big shout out to Mixed & Key for sponsoring this video. So starting off, this is how the interface looks for all 3 plugins. It's really simple to understand, and as soon as you get the hang of it, it's so fun to use. I've been making like a bunch of Yeat and BNYX beats with these plugins, and I usually just start off with the arpeggiator, so I'll just go over this one first. So there's 4 main components of this plugin. The first one is this regenerate button, which is kind of like the main function of this plugin, and basically when you click it, it spits out a random MIDI pattern for you. And obviously, because this is Pilot Arpeggio, it gives you a MIDI pattern in the style of an arp. So starting off at the bottom left, you can choose your chord progression, and this actually gives you full control of your chord progression. It doesn't just give you a random thing and then you can't really do anything with it, and that's kind of the best part of this plugin. So on the left, you can choose your key that you want to be in. As you can see, there's more than just minor and major. You've got a bunch of different keys that you can go through, and I've played around with all of them and they're all equally fire. And then on the right of that, you have your chord banks, and this is basically just a bunch of chords that they put together in a pack in a specific style or genre. And then to the right of that, you can choose your chord progression. And as you can see down here, you even have more customization. So these are basically your time rulers in your beat. These are your 4 chords in your progression, and then you can add chords to it, or you can remove chords. You can make chords shorter or longer, and you can also click on the chord and change it completely. And now moving on to the next feature of these plugins, to the right you have your sound selector, and as default it has recommended instruments selected. So because this is Pilot Arpeggio, it's going to give you a bunch of sounds that would work with arps, but you don't have to be capped like that if you don't want to. You can just click here and go under all sounds. Now as you can see, you have almost an endless amount of sounds that you can use. And also to the right of your sound selector, you have a bunch of parameters you can play around with. You've got normal ADSR settings, filters, and effects, but these specific modifiers are tied to the sound only. And as you move through the instruments, you can see there are some instruments you can't modify, and some of them that have different modifications. So if you choose to get this plugin, trust me, just like take your time and deep dive into it. There's so much you can do with this plugin. And moving on from the sound selector, we have my favorite feature of this plugin, and it's basically like a bunch of bounce presets. Each one of them has a specific description that kind of tells you where to use this or in what genre or style to use this. So for Pilot Arpeggio, you have 7 different styles that you can choose, and with each style, just as with the sounds, they have different parameters you can play around with. So when you're done selecting your sound, your bounce, and your chord progression, you can just keep on clicking on the regenerate button until you get a pattern that you like. And the best part is it doesn't stop there. You can actually go into the MIDI pattern in the plugin, and this piano roll is exactly like FL's piano roll. You can change positions, you can extend or shorten the notes, and you can also select a group of notes. And if you accidentally skipped past an idea that you really liked, as you can see, I'm already on idea 72, but you can go back as many times as you want to just check on your old ideas. The last feature that you need to know about this plugin before using it is when you want to use the plugin and the sound of the plugin. To sync it up to your FL Studio, you just need to export the MIDI, click and drag it onto the arpeggio, and then select play from DAW. Now as you can see, you can click on a pattern and all your MIDI notes will be there. And obviously, if you don't want to use the sounds in the plugin, you can just deselect play from DAW, and then you can just export out the MIDI and drag it on top of a different plugin. Now that I got all the explaining done for the plugin, I'm just going to try and cook up something with it. I've been making a bunch of Yeat and BNYX loops with these plugins, so I'm just going to try and go for that lane, and I'm just going to regenerate until I get a pattern that I like. Okay, so I'm really messing with this idea for a starter, so I'm just gonna drag the MIDI on top of Pilot Arpeggio and then select play from DAW. So now as you can see, I can go into FL Studio's piano roll and then change it up from here. So now that I got that, I'm just going to go check exactly what my key was. As you can see, it's E minor and the chord progression is 1, 3, 4, 5. So I'm just going to open up an instance of Pilot Melody and try and make a counter melody. from here, I'm just going to add on drum solo. So I think I'm done with the drums now. I'm going to move on to the next plugin, Pilot Bass. But as you can hear already, I have an 808, so I'm not going to use it as a bass line, but I'm actually going to try and modify it and use it as a element in the loop. So I think I'm actually going to take that MIDI that the Pilot Bass gave me, and I'm going to use Surge XT to try and look for like either a plucky thing or some kind of sequencer. But yeah, I think that is about it for the beat. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys learned something new. Big shout out again to Mixed and Key for sponsoring this video. These plugins are so much fun to use, and it really does help a lot with your melody. If you're struggling with beat block or you're just not feeling inspired that day, these plugins are like a cheat code for you. Be sure to leave a like and a comment if you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one.